Hey everybody, Aaron Bishop here with the Bishop's Blurb. One of the most common things that I hear from people who are opposed to God, God's judgmental. Oh my gosh, really? That's it? God's judgmental? You got a problem with that? Guess what? God's judgmentalness comes from his place of justice. He is just, therefore he must judge. Right? But when we look at God's judgment, it's not just willy-nilly judgment, fire and brimstone. Oh, you've offended me, lightning bolts and fires and floods and everything evil. That's not how God's judgment works. Instead, God's judgment is a judgment in kind. He responds to people. He gives them kind of what they've asked for. What do I mean? Let's take a couple of examples. Genesis 6:12 through 13, the flood story. God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Now, we don't see it in the English, but there is a payment in kind that's occurring in these verses. That word that's translated as corrupt in the first verse is the word shechat. It's a Hebrew word. It was corrupt, shechat, and all flesh had corrupted, shechat, their way on the earth. Humans, flesh, we'd corrupted the earth, and the earth had become corrupt in its own right. So what is God's response? Destroy them all! No! Instead, his response is to shechat. That word that's translated as destroy, it's the same word as previous verse. God corrupted them. Let's look at another example. In Jeremiah. Jeremiah is dealing with the Babylonian captivity. Israel had been a kingdom for several hundred years. Babylon attacks, they're all being taken into captivity. Israel, they don't get it. Aren't we your people, God? Didn't you say you'd protect us? Why would you cause this to happen to us? And the answer is simple. Jeremiah 5:19. And when your people say, why has the Lord our God done all these things to us? You shall say to them, as you have forsaken me and served foreign gods in your land, so you shall serve foreigners in a land that is not yours. Israel had forsaken God. They had forsaken him by serving the gods of foreign lands. And so this response, this exile, in reality, he's giving them what they want. You want to serve foreign gods? Well, fine. Go. Serve the foreign gods. In fact, while you're there, you can serve the foreigners too. It's what you want after all. It's what your actions have demonstrated. So with judgment, I give you what you want, what you've asked for. One last example. This one's pretty easy, but really cool when you see it. Exodus again. I love the book of Exodus. You'll find that out very soon. In Egypt, in the beginning of the Exodus story, the Egyptians, they're killing the Israelite firstborn. They're taking their sons and they're throwing them in the Nile River. And the Nile River, that's a nice, placid place. You can throw it away, nothing happens. You don't see what's going on. Nobody sees it. It's like it never happened. Except when the plagues come, what's the first plague? Nile gets turned to blood. God is saying, you want blood in your river? Fine. The whole river's blood. Have it your way. This is how God acts in judgment. We see this throughout Scripture. And when you don't see it, look for it. Because chances are that somewhere in the text, somewhere in the subtext, there is a payment in kind that is occurring in God's judgment. God doesn't just throw lightning bolts down on people who call for it. He doesn't just willy-nilly destroy right and left for no reason. He gives people what they want. He gives us what we ask for. Often, because we're human, we ask for destruction. Because we are creatures of death.